Good evening. I'm Nancy Scott, President of the League of Women Voters of Northern Nevada. At this time, we kindly ask you to silence all your devices, and all who are able, please stand and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The League of Women Voters is proud to host this first night of our 2024 election forums, along with our partners, AAUW Capital Branch and Sierra Nevada Forums. Our planning committee consists all of local volunteers who are committed to presenting informative, nonpartisan forums as a free public service to our community. These forums would not be possible without all of our generous support of our co-sponsors, the Nevada Appeal and KUNR. Adam Trumbull has been a valued partner in coordinating the forums through the years. We are so fortunate to have such top quality local journalists to cover the issues that are important to Northern Nevada. I encourage you to subscribe to both the Nevada Appeal and KUNR to access the outstanding election coverage they have, as well as links to the YouTube videos that will be made at each of these forums. We also wish to acknowledge the fine work of our videographer, Jeff Mulvihill of InstaImage. We appreciate the staff of the Brewery Arts Performing Hall for working hard to prepare the facilities for this event. And we thank the Wild Horse Children's Theater for graciously rescheduling their rehearsals on this stage so that we could utilize this stage tonight. We're collecting donations for the Wild Horse Theater program in the lobby. Look for the piñata. In addition, we sincerely thank all the candidates and representatives for the ballot questions for being here tonight to answer their questions and inform our community. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political action network. It was formed in 1920 to encourage the active and informed participation of citizens in government and to influence public policy through education and advocacy. We have a long tradition of thorough research and study on issues related to health care, equity, government accountability, environmental stewardship, as well as forums like this one featuring candidates for elected offices and ballot questions. The League of Women Voters' overarching goal is making democracy work. There's nothing more important to this goal than having informed voters. That is the purpose of our voter forums. Misinformation and disinformation may be presented as fact. It is up to each of us to sort out facts from misinformation. Tonight's forum will include Carson City ballot question 1 and 2 concerning the roads. And the format is as follows. Each candidate will give a 5-minute opening statement, followed by a question and answer segment. And each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer each question with 30 seconds for rebuttals, and 1 minute for closing statements. We are going to have some high school students collect questions that you have written on an index card that will be given to the students and then passed to our committee in order to screen them to avoid duplication. And due to our time constraints, the moderator, me, may not be able to read every question. We also appreciate having a live audience, a big live audience, as it helps us achieve our goal of promoting informed electorate. And in the interest of adhering to our tight schedule, we ask you to keep your applause until the end. So thank you very much. We invite our first speakers to come to the stage. We have Chaz McQuarrie and we have Ray La Rochelle. Chaz McQuarrie is a retired civil engineer and former CEO of Loomis & Associates. And Ray La Rochelle is a member of the Carson City Men's Club and volunteered to help write the con language currently on the ballot. You have 5 minutes to make your opening statements. We'll start with Mr. McQuarrie.
Nancy, I have a question. There's two ballot measures. Should we do them one at a time, or should we do both in one go?
I was considering them both at the same time.
All right. Well, good evening. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, League of Women Voters.
Can you hear him?
Forums. Then we need, at the back, they need to turn the microphone up. All right. Is that better? Okay. Well, thanks everyone for putting this on. So there's two questions on the ballot regarding road funding, and I'm going to take them in order. The first one reads, shall Carson City be authorized to increase its sales and use tax by 0.25%, with the revenue generated from that tax increase to be deposited in a fund dedicated solely to reconstructing, maintaining, and repairing local public roads in Carson City? It's no secret that Carson City's local roads need repair. Improving local roads is important for the people who use them, including emergency vehicles, police and fire, and the economic prosperity of any community. Maintaining and repairing roads requires money, and our local roads have been underfunded for many years. Implementing a modest quarter percent sales tax dedicated to fixing local roads is a practical and fair solution to address this urgent issue. Currently, 46% of local roads are between poor and failed condition. Poor means they have serious cracking, failed means they are just shy of being gravel. Regional roads are major roads like Carson and William Streets, and they are eligible for federal and state funding. Local roads, which make up roughly 70% of the roads in Carson City, are not eligible for federal or state funding. It's up to the city to fund reconstruction, maintenance, and repair of local roads. What are current gas taxes used for? Carson City collects 15.35 cents for every gallon of gasoline sold in the city. That amount has not changed since 1997. These funds are used for the reconstruction, maintenance, and repair of regional, not local roads. The 0.25% sales tax is a relatively small cost for consumers. It means an additional 25 cents for every $100 spent. Everyone who buys goods in the city, residents, travelers, and electric vehicle owners will share in the cost to fix our local roads. The money will be dedicated to improving existing local roads only, not new roads, not regional roads. The argument against passage of this measure states there's no city plan for spending the money, and the concern that the money raised may be used for purposes other than actual road building and repair. Neither of these concerns is valid. The ballot wording clearly states the revenue generated from the tax will be put in a dedicated fund solely for reconstructing, maintaining, and repairing local public roads. The money must be will be administered by the RTC. It cannot be used for any other purpose. The RTC has developed a pavement management plan to use the money on local road repair if this ballot measure passes. The first set of projects will be on local roads that have been identified based on condition, use, and location. So in conclusion, passing this measure to fund local road repairs is a reasonable and fair solution to a serious problem. The small cost to taxpayers, the broad base of contributors, and the long-term economic benefits make a strong case for this modest increase. Investing in our roads is an investment in Carson City's future, and by funding local road repairs, we can build a stronger, safer, and more prosperous Carson City for generations to come. A yes vote will provide the city with between $4 and $4.5 million annually to make much-needed local road repairs, and our tax rate will still be less than Washoe County. Thank you.
Mr. La Rochelle.
Okay. I would be opposed to these proposals, and let's just treat them as... Hello? Okay, you got the mic on finally. Now, I'm opposed to these measures because I consider it bad law. They were intentionally worded to be vague. Now, if you really believe that our commissioners, as currently constituted in the future, are going to use all of this money just to fix roads. I got a nice bridge in Brooklyn you might be interested in. What is a road? That's up to the definition of the commissioners, isn't it? Any public thoroughfare. Could be a hiking trail, could be classified as a road. Is it just going to be used for roads? How about HOV lanes, bicycle lanes, sidewalk repairs, landscaping, or maybe even another piece of San Francisco crap art like they approved for the south end of town to go in the traffic circle. If you trust these commissioners, well, I don't. There's nothing here that prohibits them from using the money any damn way they want.
Thank you. Let's go on to the second question. Would you like to read it, or you don't have it?
Yep. Okay, so the second question is, shall Carson City be authorized to impose a supplemental government service tax of 1 cent on each $1 evaluation for vehicles based in Carson City, with the revenue generated from that tax increase to be deposited in a fund dedicated solely to reconstructing, maintaining, and repairing local public roads in Carson City? So the problems, as described previously, maintaining and repairing roads cost money, and our local roads have been underfunded for many years. The proposed supplemental government services tax is a relatively small cost for vehicles registered in Carson City. All vehicles based in Carson City will contribute, including electric vehicle owners who currently pay no tax for road maintenance. The money will be dedicated to, and I'm quoting from the text here, existing local roads only, not new roads, not regional roads. Should the repair of a local road require the replacement of some curb, gutter, or sidewalk, then that would be permitted under these two ballot measures. It makes no sense to fix deteriorated asphalt pavement next to a badly deteriorated gutter. The language in the measures permits only curb, such as handicap access, gutter and sidewalk repairs that are required to maintain the overall integrity of the road. The funds cannot be used to widen roads, construct high occupancy vehicle lanes, multi-use paths, or for landscaping. So in conclusion, passing this measure to fund local repairs is a reasonable and fair solution to a serious problem. Again, the small cost of vehicle owners, the broad base of contributors, and the long-term economic benefits make a strong case for this modest increase. And again, the money goes into a dedicated fund. It's managed by the Regional Transportation Commission that reports to the Board of Supervisors. And let me just say a little bit about how the tax would work. So it's, for example, if an owner buys a new $50,000 vehicle and registers it in Carson City, they would pay an additional $175 in year one. But because the tax is depreciated over 9 years, by the end of 9 years, that additional cost would be only $26.25. So it goes down as the vehicle gets older. So a yes vote will provide the city with roughly $2.5 million annually to make much needed local road repairs.
Thank you. Mr. LaRochelle?
Well, my objections to this proposal are the same, basically, as the sales tax. There's nothing here in that one-sentence proposal that prohibits reallocation of funds. Now, the proposed benefits in terms of total revenues to be gained by both of these proposals fails to account for the fact that if you increase sales tax and you increase vehicle tax, anytime you make something more expensive, you're not going to sell as many. Local car dealer here has in their ads that you've probably heard a zillion times, cars cost less in Carson City. Well, they're going to cost more with this proposal, so the number of cars that are going to be sold are going to go down. That's basic economics. To say that this proposal would prohibit anything but pure road repair is a crock. There's nothing in that one sentence proposal that requires that. So it's, as we used to call it in the military, it's a turkey, and not worthy of our serious consideration.
Thank you. So our first question is, can you tell us what the process for creating the wording of the ballot question was? Do you know? Would you start, Mr. LaRochelle?
I believe that the transportation folks put it up to the commissioners, and they went out of their way to make sure that it was kept, both of these proposals were kept very generic. And and if you're aware, there's nothing in the strategic plan that addresses road repairs either. So there's nothing to tie the hands of the commissioners, and it's permanent.
Thank you. Mr. McQuarrie?
So it's my understanding that city staff sort of came up with the draft, but it went through extensive review at the Board of Supervisors. They basically went through it line by line, and they changed a number of things to make it more specific to A, just local roads, not regional roads, A, to not include bells and whistles that some people, our former director of the Department of Transportation, called bike paths. So bike paths are not included, landscaping is not included, sidewalk repairs other than absolutely necessary for the functionality of the road are excluded also. So this is just for local roads. It can't be used for anything else.
Thank you. If these ballot questions don't pass, what would happen? Would you try again with different wording? Mr. McQuarrie?
Well, that's up to the Board of Supervisors, not me. I mean, it's a big problem, right? We know for many years local roads have been underfunded in this community. The annual need for just to maintain roads in our current condition is $21 million a year. And this money won't raise $21 million, but it's a good start in order to fix the deterioration, or at least slow the deterioration of our existing roads. If we want to drive around on gravel or wreck our cars through potholes, then that is the voter's choice. My personal choice is I'm going to vote in favor of this because I'd rather have decent local road surfaces to ride on.
Thank you. Mr. LaRochelle?
Again, there is nothing in this one sentence proposal that prohibits them from creating HOV lanes, bicycle lanes, landscaping, or any other purpose they desire. It's a one-sentence proposal. Everything you read below that proposal is not part of the law. It's all someone's opinion, what could be, not necessarily what has to be. And that's my main objection. It's too damn generic. It leaves the board too much latitude to spend the money any darn way they please, like art.
Would you be in favor of road repair ballot question if it were reworded?
I would like to see the Board of Supervisors adjust the strategic plan to specifically address road repair, which would give us a little more legal power to ensure that if we raise taxes for road repair, that's where they're going to go. Right now, there's nothing in the strategic plan that addresses road repairs. So there's no handcuffs on them at all.
Thank you. They're asking you to speak up louder, both of you. The next question is, what does maintaining the current status mean? What level of services would be able to be provided? Mr. McQuarrie?
Well, the road conditions in Carson City vary from being basically excellent, new roads just been built, to very, very poor or failed. where they've got many potholes, an awful lot of cracks, and deteriorating severely. So the proposal would raise roughly $7 million to go towards maintaining that current condition of road. Now that won't be enough. The estimated need is $21 million, but it is an excellent first step in order to fix the worst roads in Carson City.
Mr. La Rochelle?
I don't think,
They can't hear you.
can you hear me? Or do I have my mic muted again? Oh, okay. I don't think they like me here. No, I really, the current condition is bad. It's been bad for, what, 15, 20 years now? It's been getting worse. And so they haven't addressed it till now, and now they're doing it in a very bad way. I think they better go back to the drawing board and rethink this, redraft it. Let's get a strategic plan that addresses how we handle roads, which doesn't exist at current time. So this is the wrong proposal, the wrong time, with the wrong wording.
Thank you. A question from the audience asks, do either of these proposals have sunset provisions, sorry.
No, they don't. And the deterioration of our roads don't have a sunset provision either. I mean, the problem isn't going to go away next year or 5 years or 10 years down the road. The problem's going to be with us. And this is a measured way to address it. I mean, Public Works spends a lot of time figuring out the condition of the roads we have in Carson City and the best way forward to fix them and keep them in decent repair. What they lack is money. And when you look at the increase in construction costs between 2000 and 2022, they have gone up 123%. The revenue, local gas tax revenue, has gone up 25%. The cost of construction has gone up 5 times more than the revenue to fix the problem. So you can vote no, and the roads will just get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, or you can vote yes and put a dent, start putting a dent in that deterioration.
Mr. La Rochelle?
The board needs to come up with a better proposal. They need to address the long-term needs. And I think since they have the opportunity with the legislature session coming up to put a proposal before the legislature. This is the capital, which means that the state is occupying some of the prime real estate in town, and they keep buying more and more. And every building they buy instead of lease cuts down on our tax revenues, cuts down on our ability to run anything, let alone roads. I think we need to definitely go to the legislature and see if we can get them to give us a little.
Mr. La Rochelle, do you know if any part of the ballot question addresses vehicle evaluation or weight?
I'm sorry.
Vehicle evaluation or weight, is that included in any of these ballot questions?
I'm not aware of anything that talks about weight in ballot questions.
Okay.
Remember, each question is 1 sentence long. All the stuff that comes below it on your ballot has nothing to do with what the law will be. That's why I call it bad law.
Mr. McQuarrie, does anything address that?
It doesn't speak to weight of vehicles.
Okay. And another person asked if you know what the definition of local roads is.
Yeah, well, it's anything that's not a regional road. And a regional road is an arterial road or a collector road, and typically they're defined by the amount of traffic they take. And so the roads that take the most traffic, bigger roads, wider roads, more heavily used roads, usually fall in the category of either arterial or collector, and those are grouped together known as regional roads. So they're about 30% of Carson City's roads. The other 70% are local roads.
A road is whatever the heck the Board of Supervisors wants to define it. It could be a hiking trail, it could be a bicycle road, an HOV lane. It's whatever the hell they want to do. Even if you trust the current Board of Supervisors, remember these turkey proposals are permanent. And some future supervisors could come up with some real petty projects. So, no, it's bad law, badly written, needs to go back to the drawing board.
There are no more questions, so you can start with your closing statements. Mr. LaRochelle, do you have a closing statement?
I think I've said it all.
Mr. McQuarrie?
I would just like to reiterate that even though the actual question is just one sentence, it says in both of them, the funds, revenue generated from that tax increase to be deposited in a fund dedicated solely to reconstructing, maintaining, and repairing local public roads in Carson City. Now, I disagree with Mr. LaRochelle about a bike path or a multi-use path being defined as a road. That's not the same thing. It doesn't include landscaping. It doesn't include unnecessary curb and gutter. It doesn't include art. It is for local roads only. That was what the Board of Supervisors very carefully went through the ballot measure to make sure that was not only the language in the actual question, but the intent that is covered in the backup material.
Thank you, gentlemen. We're going to take a couple minutes to change the stage, and we appreciate your participation. All right, we're ready. Now we have our candidates for mayor of Carson City. We have Ms. Lori Bagwell, the current mayor, and we have Jim Shirk. They each have 5 minutes for an opening statement. Ms. Bagwell will go first.
Thank you so much.
Get close to the mic,
I
please.
was just, I'm like, uh-oh, I remember from the last time. So I want to start off with a thank you for Nancy. Uh-oh, and I'm usually pretty loud, so I'll try. Thank you, Nancy Scott, for moderating, the League of Women Voters for putting this together, Sierra Nevada Forums, the AAUW, the Nevada Appeal, and mostly the members of this community for tuning in and wanting to learn. And thank you, Jim, for participating in this important discussion. I wanted to take just one brief moment, because I don't want it to be lost on us, that we reflect on the hostages, because today is October 7th, and the victims of the hurricane in Helene. So I just think it's important that while we're here for Carson City, it really is about the entire United States. So just a brief moment there. So I love Carson City, just like all of you do. I've lived here for 58 years. And I've seen the city grow and change. And I believe our community's brightest days lie ahead. Why do I say that? Because I've seen the progress that we've made. I think of things like Carson City. We have clean, sustainable water. We have a new fire station being built. We have new housing for seniors, right, and for families. We have some of the greatest parks and trail systems award-winning in our community, and we've implemented a plan to address homelessness. As your mayor for the last 4 years, I've helped get these wins on the board. Nothing in local government happens because of one person. It was a group effort at every turn. I'm proud of the progress we've made, and our city is better for it. But everyone in this room and everyone watching at home knows we still have work to do. Our city roads need work. It's a problem as simple as looking at your grocery bill. Over the last few years, prices have risen faster than most people's paychecks. Well, it turns out they've risen faster than the city revenue also. Same problem. There's no magic pool of money to fix this and no outside group or funding that can foot the whole bill. It's our city's biggest challenge. We'll find a way to fund our roads or end up with Band-Aid solutions while the overall system deteriorates. I hope it doesn't come to that, which is why I'm glad voters have a chance to look at funding solutions on the November ballot. The best solutions come when we work together as a community. That's when things happen the best. We need to work on our local economy. Carson City should always be a place where residents can live, work, and play, all within our city's borders. It should be a city with a business base strong enough to withstand occasional downturns. We've done a good job in the last 4 years, but there's always more work to do. Being the capital means much of our office space is owned by the state and isn't taxed. Some of our vacant retail space is older, and we could be better at finding new businesses making the case for Carson City and getting them up and running quickly. One big idea won't fix everything. A strong local economy is the hard work of advancing dozens of policy procedure changes, pitching hundreds of businesses and asking them to put their roots down in Carson City and in our community, ensuring that thousands of Carson City families have options right here in this town without driving to Reno or Douglas County. Doing all that requires someone who knows both business and government, which is why I'm right for this task. And finally, one of our biggest challenges is maintaining the quality of life everyone who lives here knows and loves. A city isn't just buildings, roads, and houses. It's parks, trails, protected areas, local events, and all the other things that make living here wonderful. I hope that you all believe Carson City is where you want to remain, and I ask for your vote.
Thank you. Mr. Shirk?
Good evening. Thank you for everyone coming together to put this forum. How about this? Sorry about that. Start my timer now. I'd like to thank all the organizations that put this together, and let me get started. As a candidate for mayor of Carson City, I bring forth a better alternative than suffering through another 4 years of traveling down the same old damaged roads that got us here today. As your mayor, I will share information and ideas with the citizens and work with them on agenda items. Together, we can help to set up priorities and action plans for the community. A little inside information. On December 25th, 1950, at 8:42 in the morning, James Christian Shirk, JCS, was born on Christmas Day. And my dad said at church one day, he will be known for never telling a lie because he was born on Christmas, and that still holds true today. As your mayor, let me share some inside information with you right now.
Closer to...
Dang it. I got it now. Here we go. As mayor, I will support giving citizens a voice, as you just have, in decision-making progress that will shape our community. It is a top priority because citizens' engagement will make our community better. Some politicians realize there is political mileage in building more homes in their community, which is evident by how much money my opponent has received from these groups. Developers should be charged for each new dwelling a flat fee that would go towards street repair. My opponent's recent postcard boasted that she secured $16 million for federal road grants. I believe the city staff should receive the credit for attaining these funds. Yes, my opponent will most likely sign one piece of paper to receive these funds, But let it be clear, not one penny of these $16 million may be used for any deplorable Carson City streets. My opponent has allowed Carson City deficit to increase to $21 million during her term. Decisions and taking any type of actions were never taken. Her solution was to create 2 new taxes. These new taxes have little effect on the $21 million deficit shortage. If my opponent is reelected, I can guarantee you the General Improvement District tax, or the GID, will reappear. Budgeting is one of the most important things government does. Budget reflects the visions, strategies, and priorities for the future of our community. Budget decisions have a direct impact on the citizens' day-to-day lives. Public participation in budgeting process, I highly recommend and encourage. As your mayor, I believe in openness, transparency, and accountability. I am very mindful of these facts, that money within the city budget comes directly from you, the citizens, and that the city government's sole purpose is to serve you, the citizens. The more our city government can provide in the way of transparency, the more it increases trust, honesty, and integrity. As your mayor, I will restore respect and credibility to the office of the mayor. I will lead by making local citizens' interests and concerns a top priority. The need to create a check and balance on the spending of taxpayers' money is necessity. Keep the community current on issues and trends affecting city government and their community will be a top priority. Supporting of Carson City small businesses is high on the priority list. We need to create an organization culture to attract new businesses here. Sorry, I got a little tongue-tied. Public safety is and should be always top priority for the city budget. As your mayor, I will work with the Board of Supervisors to reassess our priorities and continue to do so throughout each and every year. We can no longer defer making decisions. No more kicking the can down the road. We see a crisis coming. We cannot fail to find solutions to each and every problem in a timely manner and not wait years. Growth within our community presents challenges. Maintaining our rural small town charm must prevail. There is a strong attachment to our slower pace of life. The needs of the residents who support the community with their hard-earned tax dollars must be our top priority. It is a family first and foremost, always. Vote for Jim Shirk for mayor. This will be a vote for the much-needed change for a better tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. As the questions come, our differences between our candidates will come through. The first question is, what are the responsibilities of the mayor, and how would you work through those, Mr. Shirk?
I think I will speak into the microphone. The responsibility of the mayor is to represent the citizens of the community in the best fashion possible. The mayor must be the voice of the community and of the citizens. As mayor, I would have meetings on an ongoing basis to meet with citizens and find out what their main concerns are. It is to oversee the Board of Supervisors meeting and to work with the 4 Board of Supervisors cohesively to find things to better our community, not prioritize who has the best idea, but work together as a unit to better our economy and our budget. And we really need to get small businesses started and growth to increase, because that will really help. And I also think we need to look at growth in a different fashion. It needs to slow down. It needs to remember we're a small town rural community, and it should remain that way. We shouldn't become like Reno at all in any shape or fashion. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bagwell?
Thank you. So the mayor of Carson City is boy, this is tough. Do not fall out of the chair while you get the microphone, but is the head of the Carson City government. It is your representative of the people. It chairs all the Board of Supervisors meeting. The mayor has the task of doing protection of the health, welfare, and safety of this community. That is a charge that is in the charter. That falls to your mayor. If something is going wrong, the mayor would then implement a military law or an action that would be directed to the city manager or our emergency manager. That falls solely to the mayor, and that's by charter. But more importantly, I look at the role as the opportunity to meet with all of you, to be a part of the community, to find out what you're thinking, where should we be going, what can we do in plans, what do you want your community to look like? So we're doing an update to our master plan right now, and we've had over 21 listening tours that really are asking all of you, what do you want it to look like? Where do you see us going in the future for the next 10 or 20 years? And so I really look forward to reading all the final reports for all of you. But a mayor really is the leader that's bringing everything together to get a great product for each and every one of you.
Mr. Shirk, do you have anything to add?
You know, I think the mayor really is the key ingredient at the Board of Supervisors meetings, but it is very important to keep the citizens and the Board of Supervisors who are serving involved in every aspect of the direction the mayor's taken. You can't take the road that you want to take without first conversing with the other Board of Supervisors and with citizens. You need to have that input from all persons before you move forward.
Thank you.
Do I get my 30-second
Sure.
rebuttal? So
Wait a minute.
Oh,
We both get she gets a rebuttal after I do it?
we both get one.
Okay,
Oh.
that was not in
Okay.
your email.
Sorry, I thought it was we both get one.
No, it wasn't in the email.
Well, Ms. Bagwell, we'll let you add your thoughts after the next question.
So I just want to indicate to you.
After the next question.
Oh, after the next one,
Yes.
Okay.
And you get the first go at it. What are your thoughts about how to assist unhoused individuals and increase the availability of quality, affordable housing?
Is that me?
Yes.
Okay. So Carson City recently, the entire Board of Supervisors, so I'll get my comment in there anyway, all actions are taken by 5 members of the Board of Supervisors. The mayor does not make a unilateral decision. It takes 3 of us to move the needle. So we adopted a plan for dealing with our homeless issues. Nothing easy. I'm not going to pretend that it is, right? These are some long-term issues that people have had. But what are some of the things we've done? We hired a firm that has people that are experienced with the unhoused. Most of them were unhoused their own selves at one point in time. And they're able to go and converse directly with people and have a good conversation and try to get them to services that they can make decisions to change their life. And we have wonderful nonprofits in our community that support this endeavor that doesn't have to use taxpayer dollars, but donor dollars. So we have some really great ones in our community. But that's where we're really trying to work. We did a project on Butteye Way to help seniors have housing and families because it's just not affordable. So we did 160 units, 80 will be for seniors and 80 will be for families. That's aimed at helping those have something affordable they can attain and remain in our community and not have to sleep in their cars. I think that your Board of Supervisors worked really hard to try and make an impact, and that's for 160 units. That should be coming online in the next month or so. They have a supply chain problem with an elevator part, but look for that to be coming soon, and I got 4 seconds. Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Shirk,
Repeat the question, please.
what are your thoughts about how to assist unhoused individuals and how to increase the availability of quality, affordable housing?
You know, in Carson City, as many of us know, just driving through our community, there is a numerous homeless situation on numerous streets throughout the community. And I think we do have a lot of nonprofit organizations here within Carson City that are working individually to help the homeless. I think as the supervisors should work with all nonprofit organizations to bring them together to work on to get one set of rules or one application of how best to help the homeless and work cohesively together rather than independently and separately from each other. They do a great job, but we can do a better job of helping the homeless if we could cohesively work with all persons. I think also working with the sheriff's department to look at the homeless situation and find out what he can do to relieve the crowded segment of citizens we have homeless on our city streets. The property on Bud Way, I'm not sure I've been there numerous times and walked it and looked at it. I'm not 100% in favor of it. I think there's better alternatives and we can do better. And I look forward to doing that as your mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, I could have my.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. I'll take my 30-second rebuttal. I also want to mention that it's really fortunate that the Supreme Court made a decision recently that gave back the local control to deal with homeless issues. There was quite a few years there from a case in Idaho and Grants Pass, Oregon, that really tied our hands because it said if you don't have a shelter bed, you have to let them sleep on your streets. So I'm very excited that the Supreme Court moved that back to local control so we can work with everyone to try and stem that tide and not have them sleeping on our streets.
Thank you. Mr. Shirk, what actions would you take to address climate change and sustainability in our city?
What change?
Climate change and sustainability.
I don't think the Board of Supervisors can do much about climate change. I really don't. I don't think there's any rules or regulations, whether it's state or federal or local, for that. I'm not sure that's even within the capability of the city government. And what is the other one? Climate change
Sustainability.
And sustainability? It's a tough one too. Sustainability starts with citizens. If they can work and live within our community and pay the taxes, that's sustainability. I think our community as a small rural town we're looking for leadership to maintain our community as it exists today. We don't want to encourage growth to get more sustainability and more taxes. I don't think I'm in favor of that, and I think the majority of citizens are not in favor of that. We need to re-examine the directions we're taking, and to do that, we need a mayor who will look at that and bring it forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bagwell?
Well, that's great because I think you have the mayor that brings that forward. So let's talk about climate change. We in the city had an individual that is assigned the duties to look at things for climate change sustainability kind of put together. So we had an employee. So Carson City at one point did a contract to go through, for example, and change out all your light bulbs so that we could be more efficient and to maintain that. So that was a project we did. I think we've done a great job in repairing for flooding. We've had some horrible floods over the years, and we've really concentrated and done a great job to work in that arena. So when you have a climate occurrence, you're able to deal with it, right? So that we don't suffer as a community. I want to talk about something for me for sustainability is really simple. The Quill water treatment plant, right? Maintaining clean water for your citizens is the most sustainable thing we can do. You have to have clean water. Is that not what's going on in the hurricane right now, that everybody is suffering because they don't have what? Clean water. You have to have it for life. So I'm very proud of our board's work on that. And then there was recently a grant that we had the opportunity to exercise for some solar panels and to build a carport that didn't cost the Carson City taxpayers any dollars. But that solar project that we just approved will go backwards into the system to help the lowest income of our community have an offset to their electric bills. I think your city does what it can, right? It's trying, and it has to make sense. So you don't just do it for the sake of doing it, you do it because something makes sense.
Thank you. Mr. Shirk, would you like to add anything?
Yes, one thing, couple of things. I don't think climate change has any bearing on light bulbs. I don't think light bulbs have any bearing on climate change. I think clean water is a necessity to live. We shouldn't have to ask and look for it and look forward to clean water. That should be a requirement from the city government to provide to citizens. And solar panel, if we're providing it for some persons in Carson City or individuals or citizens, we should provide it for everyone's ability to obtain the solar panel also, just not certain individuals. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bagwell, the next question starts with you. The master plan for Carson City is currently under review. What do you see as top priorities for the city, and what changes would you recommend?
So I'm really not going to make a recommendation for the master plan until I see all the comments from the public, because I think our first round was to listen to all of you. And so I don't want to make a pronouncement of where I'm going till I have an opportunity to study all the comments from the public. What do I see as the potential shift or change in the master plan from the current notes that I've seen is that maybe some of the use districts that we currently have in the rules will have slight changes. That maybe we don't do tourist commercial. I know I'm getting technical, but you asked to eliminate tourist commercial and make, I think I saw one that said like flexible employment. And so that more reflects what our community looks like. But I think you'll see January through March of this 2025, you'll see us get some final input from the public, and we will get to work on updating the master plan.
Thank you. Mr. Shirk?
Regarding the master plan, I think I've been to a couple of those meetings, and I've heard things and talked to citizens in general, and everyone that I've talked to or listened to at these meetings want to preserve our small town rural community. That's the biggest issue coming forward in the master plan, and I bet you it's never addressed in the master plan. We're going to change the direction the city has been going for the past 100 years or whatever, and it's going to change, and more development is going to come to Carson City if we do not change the master plan to accommodate the wishes and dreams of the citizens who live here. And I really encourage small town rule should be the top priority, not more construction of home development. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bagwell?
So while I understand that we want to maintain a small town community, I also firmly believe in the rights of an individual that owns property, their rights to develop it. And if you look at a case in Las Vegas with the Badlands project that just occurred, and City of Las Vegas just said, no, we don't want a development on a golf course arena there. And their lawsuit has ended up with a $280 million settlement against the City of Las Vegas. So while I want small town community, I think it's all of you, the people, that give us that.
Thank you. A next question, we'll start with Mr. Shirk. What specific road repair and maintenance do you believe is necessary, and do you have a recommendation to pay for it?
Road repair. I think it's an open-end question. I don't think there'll be any solution to fixing the roads, the condition they're in now. When I was on the Board of Supervisors, that deficit was something like $10 million. I can't remember back in 2016, but it was in that neighborhood. And we're now at a $21 million deficit. I think we need to look at how we're repairing the roads. we subcontract out. We're paying wages rather than use the funds that's collected for road repair. I think some people will, I think the mayor will say, well, we need to pay the individuals who work in that department. I think that should come out of the general fund, not from the taxpayers for road repair. It should stay for road repair, not for salaries. I don't think we need to hire an outside consultant for a couple of years that brings nothing forward to how to resolve the problem. I think we need to look at budgeting and how we do our budgeting on a regular basis. We present the budget, it's passed, and we move on, we never bring it back. I think the budget needs to be examined at the Board of Supervisors meeting twice a month. A department head can come there with his budget. We can look at the budget, talk about the budget, and re-examine how they're spending things. And we need to find ways to cut the budget, even a percentage or two of every department. And if we can do that, we will raise money for road repair. That's the only way we're going to do it. We need to re-examine how we do our budget, and the opposite of giving every penny to the department, we should ask for a percentage coming back the other way. We need to cut the department's percentage, just 1% or 2%. If we did that to every department, we would get some money for road repair. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bagwell?
So let's talk about that. Is road repair needed? I think that Mr. McQuarrie made that quite clear. I think that we have had numerous meetings throughout the community over the last few years that have discussed that road repairs are needed. How to pay for it, your Board of Supervisors has already told you how we think it should be paid for, is 2 ballot measures. Let's talk about his idea of just asking the departments to give up 1%. So I did a little bit of math and just kind of looking at things to talk about, and I use an audit because I like real numbers. I don't like pretend numbers. Let's go to real ones. So our general fund for fiscal 23 was $103 million. We expended 83 and then had other uses of 19 because you have to pay your debt, whether you like the debt collector comes, right? So then I look and say, what do we spend our money on? So if I'm going to give them a haircut like he's suggesting, 65% of our budget, that's pretty good, is to the DA, the public defender, the sheriff, the juvenile, our DAS, our courts, and our fire department. Most communities that I know of, they're never cutting their public safety. It's always public safety is off the grid. That leaves us our health, culture, and recreation, and our administration. That is $28 million that we have left that we spend in those arenas. I challenge each and every one of you to tell me where I'm going to get $10 million out of that $28 million. We're not going to cut a service 50%. Because I know you'll come ask me for Meals on Wheels. I know you will. You'll say, what are you doing, Lori? You're cutting the senior center food, right? Nothing ever goes down because once somebody depends upon it for their livelihood or their life, it's not going down.
Thank you. Mr. Shirk?
Yes, I didn't say take money from the budgets that she mentioned in those departments. I think in general, we need to look at our budget and readjust and make cuts and think through more thoroughly how we're spending the taxpayers' money. I didn't say cut the sheriff or the fire department or all those other ones. And just like I need a haircut, this is the problem we have with the administration overlooking our budget. They don't see things as they are. They look around, through, and upside down. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bagwell, what challenges do you expect the city will address in the next 4 years, and how will you approach those challenges?
So we'll have the challenge of hopefully, let's say it differently, I hope we don't continue to have the challenge on the roads because I hope that the ballot measures pass. So let's hope we can cross one off. Some of the challenges that I see or concerns that I have it really deals in the school districts. More and more things are happening within our schools. You've seen recently that the sheriff has had to do some interactions with our children, dealing with they think it's funny to say, I'm going to harm you. It's not funny. I see that as more and more of a challenge of needing more resource officers potentially in our schools. But one of those things I said, public safety is the responsibility of all of us. And so I worry about our children, and I think that could potentially be a challenge. And then one I've mentioned before is looking at artificial intelligence. That is really a technology that is just by Zoom, right? And it's like, I don't think we can keep up, and I worry constantly about the privacy of your data. And the fact that, do you know what was said was real? Because people can fake your voice and do things, and so I worry that technology is very expensive. We do not buy technology for $10,000 to fix an AI bot. It's not going to happen. It's very expensive. So how do you do that as a challenge? You work with the team. You do a lot of research, and you bring that in. We work as strategic plans. Every February, we're getting together as a board of supervisors to say, how's our year going? What are we missing? What do we need to direct staff to work on next? And so I look as those challenges coming up, and then I'm done. I had more, but I'm done.
Mr. Shirk.
Fred.
Repeat the question, please.
What challenges do you expect the city will address in the next 4 years, and how will you approach them?
I don't think I can get it all in 2 minutes.
Give it a
The
try.
challenges for our community are endless. They come and go every day. We need to look at them at a better perspective and more often. I think as mayor, I will make the biggest effort to meet with citizens and with the community leaders and with department heads on our approach to how we're moving forward as a community and look at things in a better perspective. We can't just do once a year. We need to do it on a daily basis, monthly or weekly, however you want to put that. We need to re-examine how we're moving forward, and is it in the best interest of the citizens? And that is the job of the mayor, to really fortify that and make it an effort to really solve the mystery. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bagwell?
It's really the job of the staff every single day, reviewing their budgets, reviewing their tasks, their strategic plans. Are they on task? It's their job as a director to come and let the board of supervisors or the city manager know, we're not going to be able to implement this. We just did a hearing the other day on our strategic plan, and they came and said we can't get it done. These two, it's just not going to work. It's not going to be feasible for us to do it. So it takes an effort by all of the people in the city, staff, and the board of supervisors to constantly be monitoring, and we are.
Thank you. Mr. Shirk, this is a question from the audience. It says that there are many vacant buildings that are a blight on our landscape, it says. Do you have any ideas how to rescue the Ormsby House or the old Kmart property?
Well, let me see. It's been a 30-year problem, and we're going to solve it here tonight in 2 minutes. It's not going to go away. I don't care what your feelings are about the Ormsby building. That's going to exist until the owner of that property sells it or decides to invest money in it, which I doubt she will do. But how we move forward with the Ormsby House, there's not much you can do. As long as they're building code, they're up to building codes, they're keeping the property clean, and they're paying their property taxes, and they're doing all things that a property owner must do. You can't force them to sell the property or take it down in any means necessary that you want. It's going to be there for a while. I know she's a big supporter of Lori, and so maybe Lori can talk to her and tell her to do something with the Ormsby House. But that's not going to happen in our lifetime. Nothing's going to change. That Ormsby House is going to look like that forever. And the Kmart building, that, I believe that's the one at the end of town you're talking about, correct? That was going to become a storage place for RVs, boats, and other incidental items. So I think that's on the path to a recovery. A lot of people who live in that area are not in favor of it, but it's already passed through and got the permits and everything, to my understanding, and they're going to be moving forward with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bagwell?
Thank you so much for that question, and I'm proud to call her my friend. So what can we do about any vacant building, right? That's the real issue. And it is my hope that when we're looking at the updates to the master plan, that we look at all of the districts to make sure that if we have any blighted areas, what can we as a community indicate is a good use? Is there uses there that we could apply to the Kmart area or to the Ormsby House, to Shaheen's complex that the state moved out of, to the old Wells Fargo, to the Bank of America, right? What do we need to do to entice people to come here to move into those buildings instead of making a new building like Sprouts, which I'm thrilled is selected us. But where in our code, or is there anything we're doing that puts up a barrier to be able to deal with those vacant buildings? And you, the public, needs to help us when we're doing the updated master plan to say, hey, here's an out-of-box idea to add into the Title 18 uses in that area, because we would like it. As neighbors, we could live with that. It would be good use, and it would take that blight away from us. So I look at it as opportunities are always knocking. If I've never asked her, but I will tell you, I would love to have condos converted at the Ormsby House and have downtown living. That's been something, I think our vision has been there for a long time. She's probably throwing a few daggers at me. But I think if we could find someone that had that vision with us, it would be wonderful. It's correct, the Kmart building, a portion of that I think is correcting itself. And I also agree that the surrounding residents were not necessarily pleased with it, but we needed to do something with that area. We just needed to do something. Thank you.
Mr. Shirk?
Yes, for vacant buildings, we need to get the Chamber of Commerce here, the Visitors Bureau, and the Northern Nevada Development Authority to work cohesively together to fill the empty buildings. We need to put an effort forward to have these vacant buildings have owners or renters in them. So, and I don't think there's been an effort to do this, but I think as your mayor, that's a big top priority we need to do, because that would help our community immensely. And I think we just need better direction from the Board of Supervisors. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bagwell, this is the last question. It involves installing artificial turf at Centennial Park. It supposedly will create a longer season for tournaments, but how much additional revenue will Carson City receive if that artificial turf is installed?
Can I look with a blank stare? So the objective of the artificial turf was to bring tournaments that could come into the community and do what we call heads and beds, right? So 50 people will come or 100 people will come for tournament and stay in our hotel rooms. So they pay a hotel occupancy tax. They're going to shop at your stores, your restaurants, things of that. Oh, and let's please have them fill up their vehicles with gasoline, because I need that road tax money. I don't recall that we had a specific dollar amount that was attached to it. It just was at the Visitors Bureau, where the hotels and everything that were approving that indicated that they believed it would, double their season, so they could have twice as many tournaments. But I don't recall off the top of my head any dollar amount being placed on that.
Thank you. Mr. Shirk?
Repeat the question, please.
Reportedly, installing artificial turf at Centennial Park will create a longer season for tournaments. How much additional revenue will Carson City receive if artificial turf is installed?
presently, I'm not able to get that information of that dollar amount. Maybe the mayor can because she has a better connection within the city, but I've made some phone calls. I can't get any headway on that. I'm not in favor of artificial turf. I don't like it. I've played on it, softball, soccer, and I personally do not like it. My grandsons are playing on it, and I don't like them when they're playing on it too. So they've been injured on artificial turf, but not injured on what we call grass, not the kind you smoke, but the kind you walk on. And we need to, I think, maintain that within our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you have anything to add?
No.
All right. Now it's time for our closing statements. You each have 2 minutes. And we'll start with Ms. Bagwell.
So thank you all for coming tonight and listening and participating. I love Carson City, and I know getting and keeping a city that works for everyone comes down to 2 things: listening and leading. There's no magic wand, and I can't do things unilaterally. The real job is knowing the community, listening to everyone, and then helping all of us together forge a path ahead. What's true anywhere else is true here. You can't get much done until you start listening to others. I've never been one to be on the sidelines or in the office thinking. My opinion is one that matters most. It's just not true. It's an opinion like everyone else's. One of the most important things a mayor can do is bring many voices to the table as possible on all issues, whether it's roads, our economy, protecting our natural resources. We're smarter together and stronger as a community when we solve problems together. I've spent the past 4 years doing just that, talking to thousands of people across this city. Ultimately, my job is to get things done on your behalf, and I'm proud of my record. Clean, sustainable water for our city, a new fire station, affordable housing for seniors and families, award-winning parks, trails, and recreational facilities, a plan to address homelessness. Listening and leading, that's what I've done for 4 years. We've made a lot of progress, and together we can do even more. I hope I'll have your support on Election Day. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shirk.
Thank you to all the organizations who sponsored this forum today. And a big thank you to everyone here for attending this forum. What makes me uniquely qualified for the mayor's position is my 20 years of private business experience, my service as a Navy veteran, and I previously served on the Board of Supervisors. As a former supervisor, I am familiar with the operation of city government and staff. I am the best candidate for mayor of Carson City for many reasons. The top one is to ensure that your voice will be heard. City government should reflect the community values, not those of special interest. Some of today's top issues are our roads, maintenance, promoting a business-friendly environment, and we need to become money-wise with the city budget. As your mayor, we will reassess our priorities. We can no longer defer making decisions. No more kicking the can down the road. Budgeting is the single most important thing government does, as it reflects the visions, the strategies, and the priorities for the future of our community. To achieve this kind of future, we all want our community to be well taken care of, and this action must be taken, and your vote for Jim Shirk is the start. I assure citizens that I will pursue all the possible options as mayor to find the needed savings in our budget, however small, so we can start reserves to help fund the deficits within our community budget. My campaign was totally funded by citizens. I am not beholden to any group, organizations, or local companies, as is my opponent. As your mayor, I will lead our wonderful community with a clear vision, open communication, honesty, and actions that reflect the wishes of the people, of the citizens. Carson City needs Jim Shirk as mayor because I will represent you, the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both for being here tonight. And we'll take a short break. Now we're going to hear from the candidates for Board of Supervisors of Carson City. Lucia Maloney and Lisa Schutte are vying for Ward 4, and Morris White is unopposed for Ward 2, and we really appreciate him being here to let us hear his views on what's happening in the city. Thank you. So we're going to start with 5 minutes of introductions, and I apologize to Lucia Maloney for not letting her know that there were 5 minutes. It was my fault. We're going to start with Ms. Maloney.
Thank you. First of all, thank you to everyone that's here wanting to learn about all of the candidates tonight. This is a long evening.
A little closer.
I'm just super grateful that you're all here. Thank you to the organizers for being here. Thank you, Nancy, for moderating. But a big heartfelt thank you to Supervisor Lisa Schutte. There is no one here, myself included, that thinks that Lisa is any less than the kindest, most thoughtful community member here. She has done tremendous work for this city, and I am so honored to have worked with you these past 4 years, both as staff on the Regional Transportation Commission and the Carson Area MPO, and now as your opponent. So I'm thrilled to be here, and thank you, sincerely. That said, my name is Lucia Maloney. I'm your candidate for Carson City Supervisor Ward 4. I'm a working mother, a small business owner, and I have spent my entire career making local governments work better for the communities that they serve. I offer a different perspective to Carson City leadership, and I'm running to serve as a voice for Carson City's working families and small businesses. I've been representing Carson City on various boards and commissions since 2017, and I bring experienced, common sense decision making that is laser focused on making our local government better serve all of us. I was born in Northern Nevada. I earned a legal studies degree from Cal Berkeley and a Master of Science degree in regional planning from the University of Texas at Austin. After college, my husband Christian and I, we got back to Carson as fast as we could, and we love raising our family here. Our daughter Isla is 9, our son Austin is 6, and we are deep in the weeds on softball and t-ball right now. I was honored to serve as Carson City's transportation manager from 2017 to 2021. When I first started, I knew I wanted to introduce a culture change, where we went after big, competitive outside funding grants to offset the tax burden on our local residents. Carson City didn't do that before. But I knew that as Nevada State Capital, there were organizations and agencies that wanted to help us. So I led efforts to bring together Republicans, Democrats, independents, our local elected officials at the local, state, and federal delegation levels. We brought together the Washoe tribe, the Hispanic community, small business owners, property owners, and members of the public. We designed and built projects that met community needs. We stacked on support letters, and we found and obtained outside funding for previously unfunded city infrastructure projects totaling over $41 million in my 5-year tenure. And I'm really proud of that. Today, it's common practice for us to go see outside grants and offset that tax burden on our residents. During my time as transportation manager, I led development and implementation of the city's first formalized transportation management plan for pavement. We put a stop to arbitrary project selection, and we transparently maintain roads in every corner of Carson City. I effectively managed the Jack transit system, making us the most efficient small urban transit system in the country during my term. I brought in what's now known as the city's Dig Once policy, pairing road and utility projects, saving taxpayers money, and reducing the impact on adjacent property owners. And that's policy in action. Policy that makes our government work better for all of us every day, and I love it. I love getting in the bureaucratic sludge and making the city work better for people. I love daylighting opportunities where we can be more efficient or serve the public better for the same amount of dollars. I love it, and I'm good at it. I'm thrilled to be here tonight. I could talk policy all night. I've been waiting for this day since I put my name into the hat in March, so thank you again for being here. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to having you know me better. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Schutte?
Thank you very much. And Lucia, thank you for your kind words, and I appreciate it. And thank you for the good work you have done. Well, I'm Lisa Schutte, and I'm running for re-election for Ward 4 Supervisor. I was born and raised in Carson City, graduating from Carson High School and the University of Nevada, Reno. My career path took me from a Carson City deputy and juvenile probation officer to a health teacher at Carson Middle School, where I was named District Teacher of the Year in 2013. During my teaching tenure, I coached cross country and created and oversaw a memorial scholarship in memory of my brother to help deserving 8th graders afford to attend the World Strides program in Washington, D.C. My sister and I currently oversee the John and Nancy Gaskill Memorial Nursing Scholarship for second-year nursing students. I've been married to my husband, Steve, for 35 years, and I'm a proud stepmom and grandma and the mom of Hank the dog. Prior to being elected to the Board of Supervisors, I served on several nonprofit boards, including the Ron Wood Family Resource Center and Smile for a Lifetime, which made available braces to hardworking students whose family couldn't afford this important service. In 2012, I founded Carson Animal Services Initiative, the nonprofit that helped spearhead the building of the new animal shelter, and that now works to help people have access to emergency spay-neuter and emergency care. In other words, I've been committed to this community my whole adult life. I'm honored to serve on the Board of Supervisors, and I don't take the responsibility lightly. Public servants need to know their community, and they need to be involved and willing to listen. Public servants need to build bridges. My style is this: I prioritize open communication and hard work. Just as I did as a resident, I've successfully contributed to this city as a supervisor. I've been a staunch supporter in all forms of public safety, voting to approve the second most team, supporting the building of the new fire station, and advocating for improved pathway connectivity so all modes of transportation, from wheelchair to bicycle, can travel safely. I have and will continue to support investing in our infrastructure and space needs. Updating our Quill water treatment facility allows for more efficient use of our water resources. Planning for additions to our court and juvenile detention facilities is also really important. And maintaining our roads is an investment that benefits all of us. Our public has voiced that everyone should contribute to meeting the costs of funding roads, and I agree. Additionally, for many of us, our homes are our sanctuaries. It's important that those who live and work here find homes that allow them to establish roots. I support Carson City having a variety of housing options because all our residents are important. Quality of life matters. I've supported and will continue to champion our parks, trails, public events, and opportunities to get involved with service clubs and career organizations or volunteer organizations. Together, we create the small town feel that I so often hear people refer to when describing what they love about Carson City. Celebrating our area's beauty and history through activities, the arts, and special events also enhances our city's charm. Whatever the issue, I take ideas to action. I will continue to listen and take seriously the concerns and needs of our community, knowing that decisions impact us both in the short term and the long term. We are in this together. I'm Lisa Schutte, and I'd really appreciate your vote.
Thank you. Mr. White?
Thank you. Good evening, Carson City. I am Mo White, running for Carson City Supervisor Ward 2. It has really been an awesome experience working with our community, supervisors, city staff, neighboring government agencies to provide Carson City the best government we can. I will continue to rely on our founders' philosophies and principles to guide me in considering each agenda item. We must remain vigilant in providing the healthy and safe community our residents, businesses, and our visitors expect. While much has been accomplished, there are many more projects to stay busy with for my next term. Those would include rehabbing the juvenile center, address space needs at the courthouse, secure additional water we will need in the future, adopt a policy that the master plan shall be reviewed every year, once every year, and zoning changes will only happen during the annual review. I'm going to propose that we amend the NDOT contract so that Carson City does not have to pay for the interchange that we were promised years ago. We need to continue to work on our stormwater remediation. We need to keep supporting and funding the asset management program. We need to bring the landfill expansion into operation and acquire state property to protect Prison Hill from development. We need to move the public defender's office into Carson City property. We need to sponsor a bill that will put state properties on a payment in lieu of taxes program like the federal properties are paying here in Carson City. So what have we accomplished since I've been in office? And I can tell you, nobody does anything on their own. The collaboration between the elected officials, city staff, and in fact you, the community. We heard a lot of times in the community we wanted to see some things done. We set out to do those, and some of those are repealing Municipal Code 1710. We are reworking Title 18 and 18 Appendix. We're doing a master plan revision. A lot of us had that idea. This community came out loud and proud wanting those things done. We've also created a new MOST team, homeless outreach deputy position. Created a homeless repatriation program. We're securing the all available water from Marlette Lake. We use the slaughterhouse experience to improve the Planning Commission appeals process. We initiated a new vehicle replacement policy. We allocated redevelopment authority funds to install ADA doors at the community center. We initiated a policy for electric vehicles to pay for charging, improve the application process of various boards, commissions, and committees. We are working to have a common agenda template for all city public meetings. That will make it easier for the public to follow along. We improved the William Street project by modifying the original design to remove roundabouts, and we added several no left turn areas and reduced landscaping areas. We funded several upgrades at the Sheriff's Department, including the rapid DNA testing. A lot of his surveillance technology and security infrastructure was upgraded. We designed and funded a new fire station, designed and funded the Quill water treatment upgrade. The asset management program is complete and being funded. We worked to establish 988 crisis hotline. At Nevada Works, we created the Work Ready Communities Revitalization Program. In 2023, SB 205 was used by the Nevada Off-Highway Vehicle Program to provide better OHV trails and trail maintenance. If I hadn't mentioned, I am the chairman of the Nevada Commission on OHV. We helped work on SB 338, which changed the definitions of large OHVs.
And your time is up.
More? We created the RV abatement program.
Thank you. Ms. Schutte, the first question is for you. What do you think Carson City government does well?
Well, I think we do a lot of things well, and Supervisor White just listed a wonderful list of accomplishments, so thank you. You know, we have a government where we are accessible. When the community reaches out, we listen, we hear, we meet, we speak. I have spoken at several community events to listen to input and to hear ideas, and we do that well. We have an amazing open space program. Our paths, our walkways, our trails are incredible. And this benefits the community. Why? Because it's a family-friendly event. It's those trails, people have access to them, so kids can participate. Families, you can ride side by side. We have wonderful interconnectivity within Carson City. That's really important because not everyone drives. Some people walk, some people roll, some people ride. It's important that they be able to have access to medical appointments and doctors. And so through our connectivity as well as through our transit program, we do that well. We have a wonderful arts and culture program. We have these great celebrations. We just had the murals. We've had the Mark Twain event. We have our Brewery Arts Center, Levitt Amp concert. So collectively as a community, we embrace so many wonderful opportunities. Our Carson City staff, they are accessible. Why do I know this? Because I know that there are people who reach out frequently and they reach out asking for ideas and thoughts. So those are just a few examples.
Thank you. Mr. White. Do you have more to add?
What city government do well? I think, first of all, regardless of some people's opinion, jump off a cliff with instant, regardless of some people's opinion that we should just jump off a cliff with instant solutions. We take our time to look at, analyze, and consider what might be the downside of a decision. I think we do listen to the community. Constantly. I probably don't go a day without listening to at least one constituent. You know, we heard a lot about the homeless situation. So we sat down, we figured out where there was money to do some things to take care of that. We started a data collection effort that will tell us who's in our city, why they're here, what might be the best way to take care of that. If the solution comes down to giving them a bus ticket back home, we can work our way towards that in a humanitarian direction, not just shipping people off into nowhere where they won't do any better where they get. I just feel like working together with the community is how we get things done. Thoughtful, caring manner.
Thank you. Ms. Maloney?
I think that's it. I'm just going to take the rest of the day off. No. I appreciate the responses by Supervisor Schutte and Supervisor White. We do a lot of things well here in Carson City. Yep, got it. Thank you.
Move it closer.
We do a lot of things well here in Carson City. Most importantly, we have city staff that are tremendously qualified, capable, talented, and eager to serve this town. The challenge there is that over time, over the last 10, 20, 30 years of staff working here, of different elected officials and different city leaders, the burden on staff to try to meet all of those expectations and try to continue to do such a good job is almost overwhelming. We have a tremendous rate of staff burnout and a lot of staff vacancies. I believe we're overdue for an operational fine-tuning across all city departments, and those conversations that the supervisors both mentioned are going to be critical to helping ensure that we can repurpose existing revenues from underutilized services and programs, ensure that staff are focused on the critical issues of today, and so that we can continue to make our city government best serve the needs that we have today. And so I think we can leverage all of those great things and those great talents that our staff have to continue to make improvements. And they have a lot of recommendations for how to do that.
Thank you. Ms. Schutte, do you have any rebuttal? Okay.
I'm good, thank you.
Mr. White, you get the next question first. What are the most important responsibilities of a supervisor, and how would you address those responsibilities?
Question comes up all of the time. What's the most important thing we do? I'm going to give you a technical answer instead of a personal opinion about what I run around doing every day. Carson City Charter happens to be Chapter 213 of the Statutes of Nevada, enacted in 1969. It provides 28 powers of the supervisors. 28 powers. For the most part, those powers relate to enacting policies, resolutions, and ordinances. Particular importance, setting and managing budgets and master plans. That's what we do. All this other stuff has to be centralized around those things. While sometimes we look like we're deviating, going down a path uncharted, I can assure you, District Attorney's Office knows exactly what these 28 duties are, and we're not going to do anything outside what the DA's office tells us we can do.
Thank you. Ms. Maloney?
Thank you. You know, the Ward 4 supervisor must bring technical expertise and clear judgment as a member with one vote on a 5-person board. They must listen, contribute actionable solutions and ideas, and build coalitions to implement those policies that bring about real solutions. I think that's the most important thing as a supervisor, is to support the other board members and bring about policy change through that coalition building, actionable ideas process where we build solutions together.
Thank you. Ms. Schutte?
And in addition to technical expertise, we need to be able to work well with the community, with staff, and with other board members. Our current board, we are very diverse, and we represent everyone in this community. And we need to be able to do that. And so what I do is I'm a bridge builder. And so during conversations, I am able to find those links in terms of what is working, what isn't working, and what is the objective? How do we work together to meet the objective? So back to the enacting policy, resolution, ordinances, budget, master plan, we are tasked with meeting the objectives of those tasks. That sounded dumb, sorry. So what is the objective of the master plan, for example? It's the guiding document, and it's a guiding document for our community. So it's really important as we update the master plan that we get that community input, but not just some people, all people, and that we really listen. And then we take what we hear and we package it in a way that can really help guide us as we move forward, so the needs of our residents are met, the needs of our businesses are met, the needs of our investors, like businesses. How do we keep, the workforce within the business, the needs of our housing, the needs of our zoning, the needs of recreation and tourism, all of that is within it. And that takes a willingness to listen, it takes a willingness to work with, and it takes a willingness to make decisions and problem solve for the long term.
Thank you. Ms. Maloney, do you have any rebuttal?
I'll just add that, my opponent said we represent everyone in this community. And the reality is that there's no one on the board right now that represents Carson's working families. And this issue came up at a board meeting not too long ago that was discussing the artificial turf installation. And that project, maybe we'll get a question on it, I'm not going to go into that, but the scoreboards at Pete Livermore Field, I'm told, have been in disrepair for almost a decade. Yet there's no one on the board that was aware of it. When I asked senior city staff what would be the path to be fixing those scoreboards, I was told if we wanted to fundraise as parents, we could. I think that's problematic that there's no representation for our working families on the board.
Thank you. The next question, we'll start with Ms. Maloney. What actions would you take to address climate change and sustainability at the city level?
I love this question. Thank you so much. First and foremost, when we saw the Downtown Green Business Program a few years ago with the Cups at Nevada Day and bringing awareness to opportunities in Carson City, I thought that was fantastic. And so I think as city leaders and Board of Supervisors, we should promote and encourage programs such as that. Secondly, I think there are policies that encourage the use of sustainable materials. I've been on the record at the Regional Transportation Commission, where I'm currently serving my second term, asking whether we should reconsider the policy of paving our multi-use paths when the more sustainable option is compact granite. And so I'd like to have some of those discussions about city policies for projects that could encourage more sustainable materials. And thirdly, I'll say, I'm a supporter of free capitalism, free market, right? And as market demand for sustainable practices continues to increase, we as city leadership have a responsibility to review and understand city codes and maybe development standards that could be barriers to implementation of sustainable materials and sustainable practices. And we want to make sure that those barriers are eliminated so we can encourage responsiveness to the demand for more sustainable practices. And I intend to do just that when elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Schutte?
I absolutely agree in terms of we need to use more sustainable materials, and we need to make it easier for that process to take place. Some of the things that have occurred.
Louder.
I'm sorry. When earlier I spoke about balance and I spoke about working with, and so I want to give an example of working with. And so Centennial Park and the artificial turf, when that came before the board, and first it came before the arts and art. Sorry. What's that? Yeah, sorry. So it was approved, and then it came before the board to revisit. And a longer playing season is important, but I don't like artificial turf. I struggle with it. I don't like the idea of it. But looking at the whole project in terms of the longer playing season, in terms of being able to bring traveling teams in terms of heads in beds, and the investment in our community and for business, for restaurants, for gasoline, all of that is a benefit to our economy. So how do we balance that? And so at the Parks and Rec meeting, when we spoke to that, I spoke about a different infill, because artificial turf is more than just the grass, it's the actual infill as well. And so I spoke to the need that if we're doing this, we need to use something like the coconut shells or walnut shells or cork as an infill, so we can find that balance of a longer playing season, helping our hotels have heads in beds, helping our recreation and our teams, being family friendly for the sports teams, and being mindful of the environmental impact. I think we can balance it, and I think it's important to do so.
Thank you. Mr. White?
Thank you. There's no doubt that everybody should work to be a good steward of the earth. I think the city, going through the process of being more energy efficient, is something we should do. Simple fact, it's cheaper in the long run for the taxpayers, for you folks. let's just wake up to the fact, whatever you call it, climate change, climate warming, whatever it is. Been told the seas would rise until people were flooding multiple times. Seas aren't rising. We could still see the Plymouth Rock just as well as we did when the Pilgrims landed here. Forcing public policy like 2035 that will destroy our economy is not how you mitigate the issues that we will face in the future. Look, I lived in one place my entire life. I can speak to the fact that the winters are not as cold, they're hotter. It's a fact. I've experienced it. But the public policies being pushed today will not stop that and will damage our economy.
Thank you. The next question will begin with Mrs. Schutte. If the gas taxes don't pass, how can we still fix our roads?
That's a really good question. I really hope they do pass. I hope they do pass. Why? Because what is important to remember is our funding gap is not because of inefficient management. We get our gas dollars from the gas tax, 15 cents a gallon, 15.35, and it's broken into, that's the majority, there are some other revenue sources as well. But the gas tax has actually remained flat. It has remained flat because of more fuel-efficient vehicles. It has remained flat because of electric and hybrid vehicles. And so how do we manage that gap? That is the question. And so my hope with the quarter-cent sales tax and for the government service tax is to include more people in the process. There has been a pushback, and I've heard it, that we don't want a GID, we don't want the Board of Supes to make a decision to tax property owners, so we're not. We have put it to the voters to give you an opportunity to fund local roads. It is stated in that one sentence that it is earmarked solely for local roads. So it's incredibly important that we pass that. If we don't, then it is up to us as a community to decide what we can live with, what level of service we want our roads, and how we want to proceed. If you're talking about reducing the budget within the different departments, then the community will need to decide what services do you not want. And that will be a conversation that's incredibly important. And as somebody who's willing to listen to community,
Thank you.
I'm eager to hear it.
Mr. White.
So what do we do if these ballot measures don't pass? No. We're going to go back and listen to the citizens about what level of service do you want and how do we get there. I tell you, the Board of Supervisors pretty well exhausted every available revenue that we could find. We'll look to the citizens to tell us where the revenue is. I'll tell you what I won't do. I won't support a GID. And that's because this community said they don't want it. If I see a groundswell of supporting a GID, I won't support it. But I will tell you this, in my opinion, the GID was the best solution because it captures everybody more fairly. We have the ability to create one or more GIDs. We have the ability to create different parameters within different GIDs depending on what that tax, what that pavement district calls for. When I listen to the folks, if it doesn't pass, it's the only way forward. Listen to you so far, continue to listen to you. What level of service do you want? I know another one of my opinions, not very popular, but I come to this opinion because I travel all across this country. Our roads aren't that bad. travel in places like Galveston and Corpus Christi. What level of service do you really want?
Thank you. Ms. Maloney?
Thank you. Using my over 20 years experience in public policy, primarily in transportation, I know that this problem is solvable. And I've come up with a 3-step plan. I'm going to try to get to it in 2 minutes, but those of you that know me know that I can talk about this all night. So 1, the Board of Supervisors has a responsibility to implement policies that balance available revenues with available expenditures. And step 1 of the road funding issue is getting into the weeds and having a serious technical discussion of what it is that we want to maintain here in this city. Although asphalt maintenance best practices include slurry seal every 3 to 5 years, a thicker coat every 10 years, full replacement at 20 years. Carson City's 288 miles of road, many of them haven't been touched in 30 or 40 years. Some of those old roads we inherited from Ormsby County, we've never touched them. Further, our soils are mostly stable. Our roads deteriorate much slower than the national average. Additionally, researchers here at the University of Nevada, they're leading the charge in asphalt technology. Every new road we install lasts longer than ever. We shouldn't be surprised that an estimate based on outdated asphalt technology and national best practice maintenance schedules for regions with different soils is $21 million over budget. Staff has done their job. They provided the initial estimate, and I was part of that team. And I can tell you how it was come up with, and our staff can too. There's no mystery magic in there. It's elected leadership's turn to ask technical questions and constrain the maintenance costs through policy. Step 2, ensure all users contribute to the system. There are options on the table today that exist that we should discuss. Out-of-city landfill fees, hotel room tax. There's an increment available that would still keep us more affordable than our neighbors. Looking at the airport, there was some code change recently that's phenomenal. Our airport should be a regional economic engine, and we should look at that. Step 3, the ballot measures. Those would fund the remaining increment. If those don't pass, we'll further constrain through policy. Thank you.
Ms. Schutte, do you have a rebuttal?
And I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. Part of the reason we're not maintaining is we currently don't have the budget. So yes, let's find the budget. Let's create that policy. But it isn't because of a lack of willingness to maintain roads. It's that budget. And we have had a shortfall based on how we currently receive our revenue. Absolutely open to exploring and creating new ways of revenue building.
Mr. White, you get the next question. It concerns buildings in downtown historic area. It says the current revision of the master plan includes 8 to 10-story buildings in the downtown area. Are you in favor of building 8 to 10-story high-rise buildings, and how would you vote if it came to the Board of Supervisors?
No. I'm an absolute believer in private property rights. I had a comment earlier tonight suggested the upcoming master plan would not address the cry from this community about wanting to maintain small rural character. Well, I've actually read that master plan draft. It is available to the public. It's available to everybody. And the fact of the matter is, that master plan does mention small rural character twice. It goes on to mention small, or a derivative of that word, 23 times. Again, this Board of Supervisors is listening to the community. The community brought those words forward to be in the master plan. Now, as far as what sort of buildings do we allow to be built downtown, I am hard-pressed to tell anybody what sort of development they'll put on private property. I don't believe it's the government's business. Tell people what architecture, what color, what trees that they can use on their property that they're developing. And I will continue that opinion. That's what our founders told us was good government.
Thank you. Ms. Maloney?
Thank you. I went to planning school. I earned my master's in regional planning, and I'm a supporter of property rights and zoning and development code. I'm a supporter of maintaining our small town character, of being the most charming, historically friendly downtown state capital in this country, right? I am. And that said, I support administrative processes that would evaluate and potentially approve higher buildings in specific higher density corridors, such as downtown or on William or on South Carson. However, right now we have an issue with vacant and blighting buildings, and what I've heard and what I've personally experienced is that it is nearly impossible to understand what you need to do to open a business or get a building permitted right now in this city. It's very challenging, and there's a lot of staff discretion, and it's very expensive. It's $2,500 just to get a special use permit meeting with the city. And a lot of people can't afford that. And what it's doing is it's pushing potential businesses and potential investors away. And so right now, today, I'd like to continue to encourage the streamlining and so the simplifying of city policies and ordinances to encourage businesses to come in and do infill development, and provide an administrative process that would consider bigger projects, allowing property rights where they make sense within Carson City. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Schutte?
Part of the master plan is that zoning and the different density levels. And so on the perimeter of Carson City, we have the low density, and then as we go in, it's the medium density, and then downtown and business districts, it's a higher density. It was interesting listening to the Planning Commission meeting, going over Title 18 and revisiting that, and the conversation about high-rise buildings. We were receiving a lot of letters about an 8-story parking lot, and that's not something that has come before the board, so I'm not sure where that is coming from. But the conversation was really about how do we maintain the charm and the character, and there was discussion about 3 stories on Curry Street, 4 stories on Carson Street. There was a discussion about the different buildings that, we have the Capitol, we have the different state buildings, we have banks, we have businesses, we have mixed use on Curry, and so it's that balance. I absolutely believe that our master plan and the updating of our master plan in determining what is it that we want for our community, what is the look, what is the feel, that's part of that decision. We also, though, have to be mindful of zoning and business codes, and we do have to be mindful of private property. It's important that all of us, if you own land and it is within the scope of where you're zoned, that you be able to develop. And so that's that conversation. So looking at Title 18, looking at our master plan, and really thinking about what direction we want our city to be in. And as community members, we have to work together on that, because we can't just decide we don't like something, or we can't just decide we want something. We have to make it work for the community as a whole.
Thank you. Ms. Maloney, do you have anything in addition?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
Our time is basically up. We have time for one more question and their closing thoughts. We have a whole bunch of more questions. So it's up to you. Do we want more questions, or are we done? Okay. This is the last question then. The child care is an enormous cost for families. Does the city have any role in alleviating this problem? We'll begin with Mr. White.
Repeat the question, please.
Yes, child care is an enormous cost for families. Does the city have a role in alleviating this?
I think you'll see that very recently we took action to adjust some development zoning issues to allow Boys and Girls Club to create a child care facility where it would not have been allowed before that. So I think what the role of the Carson City Supervisors is to provide a zoning scheme that allows the use of private property. As long as you keep your stuff on your side of the fence, neighbors keep theirs on their side of the fence, everybody will get along together. That's what our zoning scheme should address.
Thank you. Ms. Maloney?
Thank you. I appreciated Supervisor White's comment earlier about annually revisiting the zoning code and the master plan. That update that was made recently was much needed, and it went unnoticed for far too long by members of city leadership that don't have young kids, right? That aren't experiencing what it's like to be a working parent in a post-pandemic world. It's tough, And so I think having different perspectives on city leadership is very important. Ensuring our zoning is flexible and can allow for different uses. Maybe it's not a traditional childcare. Maybe it's a group of parents that wants to co-homeschool. Different scenarios, and making sure our zoning is flexible to meet those different needs that we can't anticipate, right, all at once. And then coordinating with the large employers and ensuring that we have an understanding of big groups of individuals and workers in our town that maybe don't have access to childcare, but maybe are all working in one location. How can we support that through policy and ensure that those needs are holistically met across our town? And I'm looking to do just that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Schutte?
Thank you. And in terms of childcare, currently in many areas, childcare facilities are allowed, but it does require a special use permit, and that goes before the Planning Commission, and then there's the findings of facts. The recent Title 18 review, that was included a little bit to help make it easier for childcare facilities to establish themselves in different neighborhoods. Part of the process of that is also community safety and the safety of children in terms of drop-off and pickup, in terms of the hours of service, that kind of thing. So there's so much that goes into starting a business in a neighborhood, but I absolutely agree. I appreciate the flexible zoning, and I appreciate what Carson City did with the board, or with Boys and Girls Club. In terms of young families, I have been a young family in the past. I'm no longer young. I have young family, and I have grandchildren, and I do understand the difficulty in terms of childcare, and also in terms of activities. I've met with several families to discuss different options for their kids, for activities, for childcare, library services, trail opportunities. And so this is, childcare affects all of us. Why? Because we all know small kids, and we all want them safe. We all want them in wonderful facilities, and we all want to be supportive of our workforce, of our parents. So I would just like to end there.
Okay, thank you. Everybody got a chance on that one, right? Okay. Then we'll start with Ms. Schutte with your wrap-up.
Okay. Well, I really appreciated the evening. Thank you so much, and thank you to everybody who sat in. So I am committed to ensuring that Carson City continues to be a wonderful place to live. As a city supervisor, I've prioritized investment in our community, public safety, and city infrastructure. I've helped to meet the housing needs of vulnerable seniors. I continue to champion involvement in Carson City's master plan update, and because it's the document that will lead us for the next 20 years, guide us, and it should reflect a wide range of ideas, not just a few ideas. I work well with community residents and businesses alike. I appreciate hearing from constituents, and I invite conversation, and I'm mindful of the many stakeholders in this community. Carson City is special, and that's why we all care so much about it. I want to protect it, and I believe the best way to do that is to find common ground. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. White.
Thank you. I need to make a little clarification based on our very first topic tonight. Like Mr. La Rochelle, I am a member of the Carson City Men's Club. It is our policy that the Carson City Men's Club does not make policy statements or speak publicly on the record. Everything that Ray said tonight belongs to him, not the Carson City Men's Club. I'd also like to address the fact that Carson City Board of Supervisors today takes a lot of grief for this funding issue on the roads. But I ask you this, 1997, Department of Transportation basically forced Carson City to sign a contract, said they would pay for the freeway and take on miles and miles of state roads. Wonder how good our budget would be if we had spent our money on our own roads instead of the freeway and all of the state roads that we are forced to continue to maintain today. So the issues facing Carson City are the same. Well, I only have 15 seconds, so I'll stop right there before I get started on the next one. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Maloney,
Thank you. It's been wonderful being here tonight. If you didn't get your question asked, please reach out.
speak louder.
Call me anytime. I'm Lucia Maloney, and as you heard tonight, I've spent my entire career making local governments work better for the communities that they serve. I grew up with family in Carson. My cousins went to Carson High. Some of my fondest memories are learning how to golf at Eagle Valley Golf Course. I've been coming here my whole life. I didn't choose where I went to high school, but my husband and I, we chose to raise our family here, and we love this community. I spent 20 years gaining hands-on experience and knowledge of best practices in public policy in some of the most contentious communities across this country. Carson City has the responsibilities of both the city and the county. And the Board of Supervisors is a big job, requiring leadership with expertise and the ability to build coalitions, have those discussions, yes, work with others, and then enact responsive policies so that our city continues to serve everyone who lives here. Carson City can and should be the most business-friendly community in this country. It should be the best place to retire in this country. It should be the best place to raise a family in this country. And I believe in that vision, and I bring the skills and expertise to get it done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before you all leave, I just want to make sure you clean up the aisles. Otherwise, our high school helpers will have to do that. And we appreciate our high school helpers for being here. We appreciate all of you and all the candidates and speakers tonight. And our next one is on Wednesday, where our district court judge, the school district trustees, and Assembly District 40 will be up on the stage. And the Senior Center is interested in putting our YouTube videos at their lunch hours. So thank you again.